Good day everyone, my name is Drunken Leprechaun. I am a warbird instructor from Take Flight, and today I'll be running through the basics of doing air-to-ground with the P47 here at Thunderbolt. I am no way an expert on this airframe. I'll be skipping over some items or information during the video. For more detailed information, please consider joining our Discord and participating in one of our classes. I'll be trying my best to run through everything within the next 30 minutes very quickly about how to do a dive bomb and rocket strafe and gun strafing, talking about some approach patterns and the implementation. I am using a large resolution monitor and recording on a lower resolution. I will be doing my best to explain everything verbally, what I'm doing throughout the video, so don't be alarmed if you can't read any text when I pull them up. I'll be sure to explain verbally what I'm doing. And I am using a Tracker Pro system. If you see on the screen any random movements, I am simply checking notes or just grabbing a drink of water, whatnot. So without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to pull up the F10 map really quick just to give you some essay on what's going on. So within the map, here we are up here, just to the left north of Katasi. And then we have a ground target range that we're going to be flying towards with a bunch of targets in the middle, marked by two smokestacks on both sides, with a bunch of targets in the middle of the two smokestacks up ahead of us that we're going to be flying towards to practice our dive bombing rockets and gun attack. You can see that here up my cockpit window here to my 11 o'clock, the two smokestacks in question. And then you probably can't see it, but there are a bunch of black dots there in the middle of the field there that we're going to do our attacks on for our scenario, our examples here. But first off, let's talk about the dive bombing first. So let's talk about dive bombing, our approach pattern that we're going to execute here. We're going to execute a wing line approach method with the P47 in this scenario, this example, on those targets in question. To execute a wing line approach method within the P47, there's probably a few ways you can do it. I'm going to show you one way how to do it. Within our wing tip here, with our on the front part of a wing here, simply with all warbirds, you just simply find a reference point for you to utilize that you're going to use to start executing a roll bank pattern up and on and over the target. With the P47 here, I'm going to use in between the second and third gun. So we have our guns here, one, this long one right here, one. Gun barrel 1, the second longest, gun barrel 2, the third longest, gun barrel 3, and the fourth longest, the shortest, gun barrel 4. I'm going to use a reference point in between guns 2 and 3, specifically where gun 3 is length. Gun 3 is length, where it meets between gun 3 and 2. So right here, right in between the start of gun 3, where it meets gun 2's right in between here, gun 3 and 2. I'm going to use this as a reference point to line up my target in question. So what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to fly in a fly straight or try to line up. I'm simply at this point just going to line up the center of the smokestack. I'm going to pick out a target mid-dive, but so in regards to the reference point usage, I'm going to just simply try to line up the center of the smokestack as I continue to fly. I'm going to bring that center of that smokestack to my reference point, which is between guns 2 and 3. Once that center of the smokestack, I see it in between guns 2 and 3, I'm going to execute a shallow left bank turn, a roll, a nice long arch turn, until I happen up and over the target to initiate a dive of where I'm meeting my dive parameters of anywhere between 45 to 60 degree dive angle of attack. In regards to the other parts of this parameter, of this approach pattern, in regards to my instance, I'm going to try to maintain a speed of a minimum of 230 miles per hour while I execute this this long arch turn. I'm going to maintain anywhere between 230 to 250 miles per hour, and my bank angle, looking at my attitude horizon indicator to the right, is not going to exceed 15. I'm going to probably keep it around 15 or lower. It's going to be a quite long, shallow arch that I'm going to do, a roll to the left that I'm going to do onto the target. and then I'm simply going to point my nose downward onto the target. I'm not going to barrel roll with the P47. I'm simply going to point my nose down. If I have to, I'll execute a barrel roll over onto the target, but I'm going to aim for I'm pointing my nose down onward onto the target. So again, just to reiterate the approach pattern with this wing line approach method, I'm going to line up the center of the smokestack, bring it all the way until it meets my reference point. I'm going to execute a slight bank to the left, keeping that target, bringing that target back in a better visual range over around here per se, and maintaining it a nice shallow 15 degree, or trying to maintain a nice shallow 15 degree bank angle with 250 miles per hour, 230 miles per hour in regards to my speed. I want to maintain a high amount of speed of that such, around 230, 250. To ensure I don't cut my turn quicker than I should, putting myself into a shallow dive pattern where I need to fly straight to get to that 45 to 60 degree dive pattern. So that's why I'm maintaining sort of that minimum speed to execute a nice get that optimal turn radius to where I want to just simply end up out of my turn at that 45 degree angle, and I can start executing my dive. In regards to the dive parameters, I'm going to kill my throttle. My booster is currently off. I'm using simple full throttle right now. My booster is already off, but I would ensure my booster is off, fully at position. I'm going to kill my throttle to avoid from overspeeding. In regards to our altitude, where we should be executing this at, I recommend anywhere from 6,000 to 8,000 feet, as 8,000 feet is usually a cloud layer, is usually the start of the first cloud layer. So just to maintain visual of the target, I recommend just anywhere from 6,000 to 8,000 feet. But with the P47, same thing with the Corsair. We can definitely go much higher. Probably safest is max of 15,000 feet, depending on your current speed, to avoid overspeeding. As with the P47, this isn't really the intention of the compressibility flaps, but we do have flaps that do come up from beneath our wingtip. They do help slow us down, but these are essentially to help us stop from becoming into an uncontrollable dive, where, i.e., the word compressed, where the air is compressing our airframe to keep us in a 90 degree pitch angle downward. These compressibility recovery flaps force the airframe to give it a nice G-force, optimal G-force, to keep it up against the compression of the air coming down on our wings, to help us pull up and out of the dive. But they do help reduce drag, so you can get a little bit higher altitude in regards to our dive bomb parameters. In regards to our continuing on with our diving parameters, again, we want to cut our throttle, be at anywhere between 45 to 60 degree dive angle. Entering the dive around 230 miles per hour in regards to our approach pattern here. In regards to the release point parameters, I don't have the reticle up right now, or scope up right now, but when we have our scope up, you're going to have when I put on the fixed scope, you're going to have a single cross, two V's with a single dot in it, two like lines per se in a circle. We're simply going to line up our target with the pipper, with the cross, and our release point, we want to pull up and out of our dive around 3,000 feet. We sort of want to be level flight just after 3,000 feet, around 3,000 feet. So in regards to our release point, we want to release our bombs around like 3,200 feet per se. We want to start pulling up around 3,200 feet, executing a smooth and gradual pull-up maneuver around 3,200 feet, and releasing our bombs at that point. So in regards to that, our altitude in the instrument panel right is here to the bottom left. It's going to be quite hard to monitor that altitude and maintain a line of attack and aiming at the target in question. It's going to be a bit hard to look at both of those. So I would just eyeball it per se if you can, or just give it a quick glance at your altimeter. If it's looking like it's at 4,000 feet, right? If you're giving it a quick glance and you're reading, it's like at 4,000 feet. Just give it a half a second, and then gradually execute a pull-up maneuver and releasing the bombs. In regards to when we want to release the bombs, hitting that weapons release button, it's going to depend on our altitude, speed, and angle of attack. So if we're at a steeper angle of attack, right, if we're more at that 60 degree angle of attack, as mentioned, we're going to have a cross, a V dot, some two lines in a circle. There's going to be a line at the bottom of the circle. If we're more at the 60-degree angle of attack, when we execute our pull-up maneuver, we want to release the weapons just after that line. So as soon as the target drops right below that, it's the 40 mil line, that's when you usually want to release the weapons. Again, it's going to be different based on your altitude and speed, but as a basic concept or operation, use that as your initial reference point of when you should release your weapons. Again, a lot of it's going to be eyeballing. As I'm saying this, right, you can see this as more of an art than a science. There's nothing precise about dive bombing with warbirds. It's going to require a lot of consistency and precision on the pilot to execute ordnance on target all the time. So in regards to air to ground, I always recommend just going with rockets and gun strafing, as that's more consistent and precise, or easily to be more consistent and precise for the pilot to execute. If we're entering the dive in more of a shallow angle of attack, of more towards the 45-degree angle of attack, you're sort of going to want to release the weapons when the target dips below your nose. When the target dips just below your nose, that's when you want to release the weapons. If you're in a more of a shallow dive angle of attack. And then when we escape out of our attack, when we pull up, I recommend just staying low in altitude and just changing your vector. As if you pull up in altitude, if you just pop up, all you're doing is exposing yourself to more AAA fire, more flak. Just keep yourself low to the ground and change your vector. Use terrain to your advantage to mask yourself, and that'll be the same thing for rocket attack and gun strafing. Alright, so that covers the dive bombing parameters. So let's just talk about the rocket parameters and gun strafing parameters really quick. And I'll be sure to reiterate this as we run through the video, the sim. So for rocket attack profile, it's going to be a more shallow, low profile. We want to be anywhere between like 15 to 2,500 feet, and anywhere from a 15 to 30 degree angle of attack. All the rockets, right, have a short burn time on their propellant, so they're going to start dropping immediately right off the rail. They're quite heavy too sometimes, so they're just going to immediately start dropping off the rail. So you need to be up close and personal. You're going to have a release point of about like 600 yards, about 1,000 feet or less, and you're going to be just about like 100 feet or a little bit more above the ground and releasing the rockets and doing gun strafing for the most part. In regards to aiming the target during our attack run, we want to put the pipper above the target to keep ourselves above the target. As mentioned, right, the rockets have a droppage. Same thing with guns sometimes. For the most part, right. With guns, you can put the pipper more onto the target as you get closer. With rockets, you're definitely going to be leading the target in regards to giving it more elevation with your aimage to account for that rocket droppage and ensure that you can still pull up and out of that target safely. In regards to approaching the target, lining up our target as well with rockets and guns, I'm going to be sure to reiterate this, or try to reiterate this as well. We sort of want to identify our speed that we want to be at ahead of time. I recommend at least 200 miles per hour minimum, 230, probably at least minimum 230 miles per hour. The more speed, the better in regards to avoiding AAA fire. But we want to sort of identify the speed we want to end up ahead of time and not really touch the throttle afterwards. Playing with the throttle throws your airframe off its course, going left and right. So when I reduce throttle, the airframe should want to roll to the right. As I increase throttle, the airframe wants to roll to the left. If I'm playing with that drastically or a lot, all I'm doing is throwing off my attack line, my attack run, and messing up my attack there. So just try to avoid playing with the throttle. You can absolutely play with the throttle if needed, but just keep that in mind when you're doing that. It's going to be rocking your airframe left and right while in doing so. And yeah, same thing with the guns. Sorry, just getting a quick drink of water. So let's also talk about how they arm the weapons right now. We'll start off with the guns, at least, because we're going to have to turn on the sight. So we'll start off with guns. To turn on our guns, to activate the master arm, right, for our guns, it's going to be located on our left-hand side. Off to our left-hand side, right behind the throttle quadrant and right below the controllers for the oil and intercooler, you have a red switch here with the words to the left of it. camera only, off, guns and camera. Right, so what we're going to do is pop this cover open. Does it pop open? And nope, pause the video. What we're going to do is pop this cover open and put this into the downward position for to activate the sight and ensure our guns are turned on or activated. The master arm switch is on for that, and that will allow us to fire the guns and also display the fixed sight, our reticle, our sight in question. Once we do that, to adjust the brightness of the scope if needed, that's going to be on the bottom left hand side of our footwell. If you're looking at our bottom left hand side of the footwell here, along this black box of this wall, this top left knob, black knob right here, you can see the words gun sight, with the words off and on. This is a dimmer, a brightness dimmer. You just left click and drag this as you wish in regards to the brightness of the reticle you want, of how bright you want the scope to be. To turn on the fixed scope, by default it should be off. You're just going to have a gyro symbol. To turn it on, if we're looking dead ahead of us onto this gun sight, to the left there's this black lever on the side. This black lever is a little knob. If you hover over it, it says fixed reticle mask lever. You're just going to flip that up to turn on the fixed scope to present you that that cross with the V dot to present you with the fixed scope settings. Talking about settings, this I believe is in feet. Target range selector. I recommend putting the target range selected to 1100 feet by default, and just leaving it at 30 or 35 as well for default. And that's more or less for air-to-air usage, and we'll cover that in the next video. To arm the bombs, in regards to arming the bombs, going off to our left here, left to right, we first need to flip open this switch and make sure this switch is set to ready to arm. It's our master arm switch pretty much for rockets and bombs. Then going along the same panel here, I have a single bomb on my belly. If you had left or a bomb on each pylon, left pylon and the right pylon, port and starport pylon, you would just simply left click each switch in the onward position to activate that pylon for release. In our instance, we're just going to activate the belly for release. And then here we have a master switch mode select to switch between bombs and rockets. As, by default, it's in the rocket select switch. I'm going to select, make sure that it's in the upward position for bomb, and then swap it down for rockets to fire the rockets afterwards, and then ensure my left and right are on to fire off the rockets. For arming the bombs themselves for impact, to make sure they're detonated for impact, to our back left here, looking at our left hip, to the back left of the left hand side here, you have an arming mechanism for the pins on the bombs per se, if you want to call it that, to ensure the fuse is armed and active, so it does detonate upon impact. We're just going to, in our instance, left click this in the upward position, ensure this is up and up for arming the bomb in question. And that covers how to arm the bombs. For rockets, again similar, make sure this is in the upward position, the master arm selector. This is in the downward position for rocket selector. And then off to the right here, right behind the stick, for our scenario, we're going to fire in single pairs. We're going to right click this until this knob reads single, and then we're going to leave it on instantaneous for instantaneous detonation upon impact to explode immediately on impact. That's how you arm the rockets. So without further ado, I'm going to continue to climb up a little bit, get as high as possible up to the cloud layer, and then again lining up and going to execute the dive. Alright, yep, so I'm going to unpause the video, turn on the stuff, and we'll go from there. Cover down, camera. You can see just the gyro sight, and I can play with the brightness of it. I'm going to activate the fixed scope, and there's our fixed scope. And that's, yeah, that's the fixed scope there. I'm going to activate the bombs. Or bomb, sorry. And that's all armed, all active. So now, right, I'm just starting to line up that center of that smokestack with my reference point already. Just trying to get it as close as possible. And then when it gets in between the second and third gun, at the length of the third gun, I'm going to execute a nice slow roll onto target. And I'm having difficulty of getting some speed here. I may have to apply some boost. Just applying boost slightly. Alright, there it goes. And I'm not going to use my compressibility flaps. I'm going to leave those off for now. Alright, I'm looking better on speed. Apply a little bit more boost. Alright, there we go. Looking good. Trying to get to at least 230. Alright. And I'm not looking for precision here. I'm just, in regards to this scenario, I'm just trying to get as close as possible to my reference point. And again, I'm going to pick out a target mid-dive. And how's my temperature? I'm gonna start closing my cowl flaps so they don't shake me during dive. I'm closing my cowl flaps as I'm starting to shake, and I don't want to shake during the dive as well. Again, still lining up, wasn't rolling, just lining up. Alright, now I'm rolling. Trying to execute a nice shallow turn here. Just gauging it, eyeballing it as I'm doing this, just keeping the target group slightly in sight. And I'm starting to line up here, get closer and closer. I'm going to start reducing my boost, bringing my boost, cutting my boost. So I'm going to start pitching down. I'm getting up in the clouds here. I'm going to keep eyes on target. And rolling in, or pointing my nose down and bleeding the throttle. Throttle's on full aft. Pitching my nose down. Alright, I think I'm somewhat shallow in a shallow dive, more towards in between 45 and 60. Aim for this target right here. So I'm going to let it drop below my nose, the target in question, see if that works. Alright, pulling up. Bombs away. Alright, see how that does. Oh, just after it, so I should have released just a little bit sooner. But that was pretty, that's how you execute that procedure. As you can see, right, not quite accurate. It's more of an art than a science. Alright, so next up, I'm actually going to show you what happens with playing with the throttle as we're going to do the rocket attack run. So I'm going to show you what happens, right? I'm going to apply throttle. You're going to see the airframe roll to the left. You'll see. See how the airframe is starting to roll to the left? Now I'm going to reduce throttle. You see the airframe roll to the right. The airframe's rolling to the right. See? The airframe's rolling to the right. So that's how an example of how that works in regards to why you don't really want to play with the throttle all too much during your attack run. And how's my simulator head temperatures? Alright, we're still good for temperatures. I just want to make sure I didn't blow out the engine during the video here for you. Alright, now we're going to swap over to rockets. It should be simple click right there. So again, going down here, just swap that selected down into downward position for rockets. Just trying to maintain level flight here. Then I'm coming over here, setting it to single, and that should fire a single pair of rockets, just like that. I should have more rockets. rockets. Yep, I have more rockets. And I apologize, you don't need these up and on. It's just that, I apologize. I think I said that earlier, turn on the left and right for rockets. Just put that in the rockets, fires the rockets. Again, I'm going to try to identify the speed I want to be at. I'm at, I think, a decent altitude. I'm just going to continue to fly straight for a bit, or pull up in altitude. Alright, so same for that back target there. Again, I'm going to keep that target right below, as I'm still pretty far off and I don't want to dip too far down, because I was flying a bit slow. I want to try to get to 230 miles per hour. Alright, looking good. And with as you increase the speed, you're going to apply more left throttle than anything. So in regards to your attack runs, you're really going to apply left rudder than anything. So I'm just lining up the target at the bottom, 40 mil here, maintaining good altitude above it. Racing up here, as I think I'm getting close. Yep, that was a good hit. And as I find out that I'm going to hit the target, I would essentially probably just fire the remaining of my rockets to ensure that target is destroyed. And that's that. I'm just going to fire off the remaining of my rockets. And then similarly, gun strafe is going to be the same thing. Just going to apply max throttle here, just to maintain speed. Don't really worry about blowing out my engine right now, because this is the end of the video. Pull up and around really quickly. And again, same concept. Just going to show you. Yeah, the guns go off the rail here. And the I'm not quite sure on the convergence. Actually, should be at least 300 yards for the guns. But same concept. I'm going to put the target just below me as I approach it, right just below the scope as I approach it. And then as I get within targeting range, that should be high, right? So now I'm on target. Gonna do nice controlled sharp burst like that, and that's a gun strafe example. And that sort of covers all the basics in regards to air to ground with the P47 for dive bombing, rockets, and guns. Yep, there's not much else to it in regards to air to ground. So I hope some of those concepts were useful, or you can find some useful information from this video. Next video will be air-to-air, and you can check out the other video in regards to takeoff and landing. The takeoff and landing for the P47 is probably one of the lower end or lower quality of my videos, but although Allied Warbirds are about the same in regards to concepts, so just take a look at the other videos in regards to from the Spitfire, Mustang, and whatnot. All the concepts are really transferable between the Allied Warbirds. But yep, again, hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching.